Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 50 of Over the Head podcast with Kyle Hartzell. I'm Scott Ratliff. On this week's episode, it is the quarterfinal preview show. We're going to do a deep dive into the Whipsnakes Cannons matchup, as well as the Denver Outlaws against Kyle's beloved California Redwoods. So let's dive in, Hartsy. I'm excited, man. I don't know about you, but this is obviously, best time of the year in terms of the PLL schedule. I think two really intriguing games here, that I'm excited to watch. Both are, so I'm on Pacific time. We've talked about it. I'm out west. Both are late. No main TV slots and two late games for me on the West Coast. I think it's like one of them's an 8:30 start, if I'm not mistaken. So we're going to have to grind one out on Saturday here, but I'll definitely be ready to do that.
Yeah, I mean, what a better place to have it. TCO Stadium, Minnesota Vikings training facility. I don't know if you played there, Scott.
Yeah. I played there,
there.
2 years, 2 PLL years. You know what the best about that place was? The food.
Walk from the hotel.
Yeah, walk from the hotel was also clutch. Like the hotel was like a nice little walk across a pond to get to. So for context for people, right, the stadium is like I think it's like the Vikings training camp kind of facility stadium, location. Yeah. So it just has this like NFL infrastructure where like the hotel where the team stays, presumably during camp, and then there's like this really good dining hall basically that they feed you out of there that I remember had better food than anywhere else we played. And then the stadium itself is sick. There's usually good crowds in Minnesota. So it definitely is like it was always one of my favorite places to play. It's probably one of the nicest facilities, but walking distance, nice hotel too. Like nice hotel, walking distance, top tier food. That's how you become a playoff location for PLL cities.
Yeah, for sure. So going to be an exciting weekend, perfect venue size, should be sold out. I think there's more buzz in these, playoff games. It's the last game, of the season in that area. Obviously, I don't think they played a regular season game here, but so I think it's gonna be a good crowd, man. So it's gonna be great. Shouldn't be too hot either. Minnesota weather should be nice. So
I would think that. I was also curious to see how the crowd is because we are getting closer to fall. I know in the South school has started where I am right now in Washington. I think it starts next week for most people, but it feels like a better chance at a good crowd. I've talked about this a lot in a lot of episodes this year with like trying to sell tickets in the summer when you're battling with vacation and other things versus being in the school year where families are generally like locked in during the week and looking for things to do on the weekend. So I wonder if even if they haven't started school in Minneapolis, like being close to the start of school and like probably less in vacation season, I hope that equals bigger crowd. I feel like there usually have been really good crowds for playoff and championships with the PLL. So I'm optimistic that it is going to be an awesome environment.
Yeah, should be good, man. It'll be electric for sure. And the first matchup, right, Redwoods, Outlaws, we can't really put too much on that game last week because they were missing pretty much their entire lineup. 2 defensemen, Ben Randall, Mike Manley. Bernhardt was out. Kavanaugh was out. So it'll be a much different look on the Outlaws. JT Giles Harris was out. I mean, everybody. Did he play last week?
So
I don't think he did.
I'm not sure. I didn't watch that game because of how meaningless it was. Before I have one other topic. Before we dive into the less important topics of previewing the games, something that you could help me with, as you've been a resident of many places, Maryland, Texas, and California. Something that I've been kind of struggling with a little bit is when is it appropriate when you're on the West Coast to start drinking for sports games? Because I'm obviously not going to have that. I'm going to have that problem this weekend in reverse. Whereas like, am I going to stay up drinking red wine till 1 a.m. to catch the end of this Cannons game? But on other weekends, I've had this thing where like the games start at 10. Is it when you live on Mountain Time or Pacific Time? Do you crack beers on Eastern Time? Is that acceptable and regularly practiced behavior?
Yeah, I mean, I think, as an adult, Scott, it's Saturday. You've put in your work. You're a 9 to 5 guy. You're running a company.
9 to 5.
9
I'm
to
a
10?
6 to 6 guy, buddy. Yeah.
And then
I'm not, come on. I'm built different.
Go ahead and throw in, having a daughter. Like you got a lot on your plate. I think, if you want to have a beer when you open your eyes and have it next to your bed, I think it's fine as long as you pace yourself throughout the day. So
the daughter's the part that makes
it
feel. The daughter's the part that makes it feel irresponsible. It's like, but it's also like, and I know because I'll be out here only just for the beginning for like the first 3 weeks of the NFL season too, and it's like the game starts so early, but like you look forward all week to the watching, having a beer, watching the game. So I didn't hear. So is the answer is yes, is what I'm inferring correctly? Is you drink on East Coast time?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. I'll be sure to keep that in mind. So. Let's get into it. I know we didn't, we want to kind of do a deep dive on these games. I think you're right. Let's start. So that is the schedule, right? Outlaws Redwoods is the early game, and then Whipsnakes Cannons is the nightcap.
8:30, I think. Yeah.
So let's start with Outlaws Redwoods. So you touched on this, but they've played twice this year. Both matchups they split the regular season. The Outlaws, the game that basically, with this one, you can't really take stock from either game. The first game, the Outlaws won 10-9, but it was on May 16th. So these teams were a shell of themselves. I mean, when you go back to May, rosters weren't really complete then. I think, what was that week? That was week 1. So, like, it's hard to look at that game as meaning anything. And then they played on August 16th last week. But to your point, like, neither, especially the Outlaws, were not their full team. So I'm not sure that we really got a sense of what we're going to see from that game either. Is there anything that you think in those first 2 matchups that we can, take away and that may give us a little bit of insight into how this game's going to go?
Not really. I don't think you can take too much. I mean, look at we'll talk. We don't have to talk about them, but the Archers in the beginning of the season, you can't take any of their games at the beginning of the season because they're a completely different team. I would say no, not really. And then last week, obviously, the Redwoods stomped them, but they were missing a lot of guys. So I don't think you can take too much from each game because then again, like Kavanaugh, O'Neill, they were out. They had injuries throughout the season, and now they get everybody back. But again, like how healthy are they? We don't know. So no, I don't think you can take too much stock from those earlier games. I think it's going to be a battle. It's probably going to be a 1 or 2 goal game. Maybe we'll see OT in this one, but no, I'm not going to be taking too much from the reading into the earlier games. That's for sure.
So when I like think about this game, it's the team that if you took the best performance this season of both of these teams, and I can't even tell you what game that is. This is just as per usual. I'm vibing this out. I feel like the Redwoods at their best have looked like the better team than the Outlaws. Like to me, the story of your Redwoods this season has just been this like roller coaster where it's like at their peak, they look like championship contender. They have such a, dynamic offense when it's firing with Cav and Malloy and Garnsey, who all are like pretty dynamic playmakers. Obviously McAdory, who's, one of the best middies in the league. I think the bigger question mark, as you've alluded to, obviously you were pulled out of a 3-year retirement to go play defense. They've been beat up on defense, and Dylan Ward is kind of part of that roller coaster ride. Like there were a few games early in the season where he looked like championship level Dylan Ward, and then there's been times where he doesn't. So the question mark with them is more on the defense, but I feel like they've hit a higher peak this year than the Outlaws have at any point. So you could, if you're a Redwoods fan, like you're betting on that peak. Like if we can hit that peak at the right time, we scored 18 goals last week, even though it was against a depleted team. There's a lot of good, just general vibes and kind of offensive of connectivity that like shows in that. I think if you're the Outlaws, you're betting on like top end talent and championship pedigree trying to show up because they just really have never found any sort of a flow this season. There's I can't think of a single game where it was like, oh wow, there they are. Like they found their way to wins, but a lot of close wins in the games they've won. They haven't really they just haven't at any point this year. We haven't seen like vintage Jared Bernhardt. We haven't seen a big Cav game. We've seen O'Neill still be really, really good, but not MVP good the way he was last year. His shooting percentage in particular, he's been more of a playmaker, hasn't shot the ball as well. Weirdly enough, dude, the player, like the MVP on the year for the Outlaws has been Logan Wisnauskas. It's like we saw the stat that he's got that right now. He's got the highest shooting percentage in PLL history among players with 25 plus shots in a season. And the list is crazy because it's Eric Law is number 2, 3, and 4. And obviously, Eric Law is a guy who lived on and around the crease. So that makes sense. Wisnauskas is not that guy. Like, he finishes inside some, but he's more of a mid-range shooter.
Got to be on the left side. He's got to be on the left side. And I think, go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
60%. Shooting 60% for not like a true crease rat is pretty wild.
And we talked years previous, and I think he is so good on the left side. As soon as you put him, there was a instance in the game last week. O'Neal was dodging the left wing. He was like on the right side and kind of look out of sorts a little bit. And when you do that to him, I think it's not his game, right? I think when he's on that left side and guys hedge down and ball watch and he moves the space and he can throw forward or guys skip through to him. If he has time and room, right, it's probably going in the back of the net. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with, Kavanaugh comes back, Bernhardt comes back. He's got a hamstring injury. Like, are they going to run him out of the midfield?
Yeah, he's listed. Bernie's listed as questionable for what it's worth. So we don't.
Yeah. So if I'm the Redwoods, right, if he's running out of the box, I'm taking a short stick and I'm making him run all over the field on that hamstring. Like, he's going to have to work his ass off to get the ball. But then if you put him down low, and then you got O'Neal down low, and then who's coming out of the box? Wisnauskas can't come out of the box. So all signs would point to, if he can't run in the midfield with his hammy, they're going to put him in attack, and then he'd be at X, got Kavanaugh on the right side, and then Wisnauskas on the left side, O'Neal coming out. There's a bunch of stuff they can do, but I don't know how healthy those guys are. It's going to be interesting to see that first whistle blowing, where guys are at and what their game plan is. But Wisnauskas is having a great year.
I don't expect to see anybody other than O'Neal, Wisnauskas, and Dalton Young featured. I don't expect to just see all of a sudden this is the game where everything runs through, at least through Bernhardt. I mean, Pat Cav kind of fits more seamlessly in when he's healthy, but to me, it's been O'Neal, it's been Dalton Young, it's been Wisnauskas that when they've needed scoring this year that's consistently provided it. So it feels like those will still be the guys that they lean on. Evan Plunkett, who is heavily involved in the offense but hasn't really gotten going from a point production standpoint. The ball is going to continue to be in his stick. He's been a first-line midi, dodging all year long. So I don't think we're going to see anything drastically different. It's more of just can they, can O'Neal just have one of those O'Neal games and you just to me, if they win, it's likely a 11-10, 12-10 type of win. But the Redwoods, to me, if you're going to have a blowout win, I would err on that direction of them being more capable. I just think they have a little more continuity, a little more health. I have a harder time seeing the Outlaws run away with it. The other thing we should touch on, when you think about matchups in this game, I think the Outlaws transition offense against the Redwoods transition defense, is odd as that is to call it a matchup. That to me might be where the game is won and lost, because I think that's in a lot of ways that's kind of the Outlaws X factor. If you can get enough out of a couple people like they have been on offense, but then you find a Pacino 2 and Tarafinko puts up 2 or 3 points, all of a sudden your 9-goal offense just became a 13-goal offense, and that could be the difference to win for them, right? Yeah. So how good of a job can the Redwoods do at getting in the hole, preventing that? A lot of that means not giving up clean saves, shot selection and things like that become very, very important. You'd think the Redwoods are going to have the advantage at the faceoff X with TDE. So that, to me, the Redwoods transition defense, which includes shot selection from their offense, that's probably the most important piece. I think I like them better if they no twos in transition and limit the Pacino Tarafinko combination to a point or two. I like their chances.
Yeah, and I think that's a good point. I think they're going to probably be dialed in on that. Middies have got to buy in and getting back, because if they do not buy in and getting back and they're going to jog off the field, right, the Outlaws are very dangerous in transition. That's a really good point. One thing I'm probably really going to keep an eye on when the game starts is Logan McNaney, right? I think he's been pulled in the last 2 games. McElroy's was 60%, pretty much 59.3% in the last game that he played in. And then, like, McNaney, versus the Chaos, 63%, 35% the next game, 20% the next game, 18% the next game, 42% the next game. That I'm worried for the Outlaws. I think that game's going to be won in between the pipes. Like, who are they going to start? McElroy's had the way higher save percentage. Are they going to start him? If I'm Sudan, I'm probably going to throw McNaney in there because you know what he's capable of when he makes clean saves. They're up and out, and he's, we know what he can be, but man, he has not looked good the last 5 games, right? I think he was probably arguably, he's a goalie of the year contender, and the last 5 weeks, man,
he won it. He won it last year, didn't he?
Yeah, won it last year, and I don't know, Scott, I don't know if his LinkedIn's been active. I don't know if he's working a real job.
No, it's not. I think there's been some injury stuff. I think that's mainly what it's been with him from what I'm hearing. Trying to talk about this game, these two teams have just been so inconsistent. It's just it's crazy. And this, I'm going to go back to it. And I don't know that they have been, the Outlaws in a way have okay, here's how I'm gathering my thoughts on this. I think in a way the Outlaws have been more consistently slightly above or at mediocre all season, where the Redwoods have been more true peaks and valleys. To me, is the difference between these two teams. But I think I would rather have that peak and valley team. In a playoff game, big time stage, I think you're more likely to see a team really show up and play great than lay an egg. And I think if both teams, again, I've said this, but put out their best performance, I think I just like the Redwoods better. The Outlaws, it's just at a certain point, on a season, you are who you are. And they just have not been dynamic offensively all year. They haven't been great in the cage all year. I don't really like them on the faceoff advantage, right, in this game. Where do they have the better unit? They probably have a better defense than the Redwoods, and then I think they've got a better transition offense. But I don't know if that's enough. You're right. If they get great goaltending, maybe that is enough, but they've just been so uninspiring to me all season. Yeah. And then look, the other X factor here is Dylan Ward. You're talking about McNaney and what are we going to see there, or is it McElroy or whatever? Dylan Ward has many times in his career flipped a switch in gold medal games and playoff runs with the Outlaws, and with the Water Dogs, and been shown up and been incredible. I don't need to see it every week from him to know that he has that in him. So again, if I'm thinking about betting on this game, I'm more likely to bet on him. I don't know. I wouldn't bet on him being a better goalie over the season than McNaney, but he just has my trust in pro lacrosse, big game, big moment play. That guy knows, he knows what he's doing. He knows how to show up for these moments. So he gives me some, and that's why Train brought him in, right? I mean, that was go get a guy who could win in the playoffs. This is what you're here for. Yeah.
This is why you grabbed Dylan Ward. I mean, last game, obviously guys weren't in, but he left the cage. They pulled him at halftime at 64. He was almost 65%. And then Craddock comes in. He's 50%. So Craddock's, if something were to happen, I like Craddock coming in. But yeah, you're right. Dylan Ward knows how to win. He's a proven winner. And this is why you picked him up. These moments in the playoffs, we know what he's capable of. Gold medal games. He's one of the best. So going to be interesting to see. I think the goalie play, especially for the Outlaws, Sudan's got to, do you put the guy that's been 60% in, your backup, or you put in the guy that's the goalie of the year when he is playing at a high level? So it's a tough decision.
And I think Denver's defense, right? So Mike Manley listed as questionable for this game as well. If if Denver's defense is at full strength,
he's playing.
He is playing.
He's definitely playing. Yeah,
you're right.
They'll put super glue on him. He'll be out there.
You're right, especially because he's in that stage of his career where it's this could be playing for one thing. It's a championship, and so
that's the other thing that worries me about them. Right? It's these guys haven't played lacrosse in 3 weeks, and now they're going to go back on the field. They're all injured. They're all not 100%. So it's are they 60%, 70%? And I think the game you're gonna find that out pretty quick. So,
yep. So, okay. With that, we've rambling on about this, and again, it's crazy to me that we're going into a playoff game. And look, this is it when you have a league where you only have 2 teams that don't make the playoffs. It's not like every playoff team is really firing, but you've got 2 teams here where, to a certain extent, we don't even know exactly who they're going to trot out there. The Redwoods defensive lineup has changed quite a bit over the course of the year. The Outlaws offensive lineup has changed quite a bit through the course of the year. So it's really like I think from that sense it's a really hard game to predict because these two teams have been so all over the place. How do you I'll throw in a few other stats for you that are like California drastically better off the ground. I mean, a lot of that's probably driven by TD and how many faceoffs he wins, but edge off the ground to California. Who do you like in this game? What do you see as a score? Let's start there, and then we can go into the next round from there.
Yeah, the score piece will be interesting. I'm going Redwoods in this one. I think they're after last week before, like I just can't put money on the Outlaws in this one. It's just the health factor. Their guys haven't played for 3 weeks. Is Mike Manley playing? Is Ben Randall playing? How healthy are they? So for me, this game, I'm going all in on the Redwoods on this one for sure. And I think a score of this game, I think we're going to see like a 14-12, and if it's like one goal game, 14-13, obviously. But that's kind of my prediction on that. And TD Ireland winning all the draws, like that's going to be huge for that defense, right? They're injured. They're going to be playing a lot of defense, so that's going to be, it'll be interesting to see. They're going to need a lot of saves. They're going to need their goalie to be 63% to win this one, I think.
When they are healthy and firing, I think the Outlaws defense matches up really well with the Redwoods attack because I think we've seen Manley do a really good job on Guardsy. Like really heavy, Jared Newman, really strong, heavy defenders tend to cover Ryder well because so much of what he does is lean back on you. And if you don't have to get off balance to like negate his weight, I've noticed that, right? Manley can just kind of stand there and absorb that and not lose balance. So when he tries to roll off of it, like you're still in really good positioning. So I like that matchup. And then he's also smart and heady off ball at this stage of his career, which is where Garnsey does a lot of his work, and physical on the ground. So like healthy Manley, I like that matchup. Then where do you have Ben Randall and JT Giles Harris? Like it'll be interesting to see where you use those two on Cav and on Malloy. But either way,
Ben Randall on Cav, JT Giles Harris on.
That's what I would think as well. So like I like JT Giles Harris on Malloy. Again, I guess what I like about the Outlaws defense is they have the heaviness, because then like JT Giles Harris, same thing. Like he can bang with Malloy. You got to have somebody that's big enough, heavy enough, strong enough to compete in that matchup, and he can kind of do that. So I almost give the edge on 2 out of 3. Not almost. I do give the edge on 2 out of 3 of the matchups to the Outlaws' close defense. Cav Randall, we've seen Randall play at a really high level. He hasn't been healthy all year. You probably give the edge to Chris Cav there.
Yeah, but last week they brought Cav out of the box and it worked really well. Finn Thompson off ball down low is an absolute nightmare. He had 3 goals off ball. He's constantly moving. Guys are jamming the ball into him. He's turning twisters. He has really smooth hands. Like, is Cav going to come out of the box this week? That could be another thing to look at. Getting shorts. Do you pull McAdory? Do you pull Cav? Do you double pull? Like, it'll be interesting to see what they do. I don't think they have, the guys to do it they're not healthy. So if you bump Ben Randall up top, like he's gonna be running downhill. I don't know what injury he has, but it'll be interesting to see what the Redwoods come out in, because that looked really good last week.
So you made your pick. I'm actually with you. I'm going to take the Redwoods to win this game. I was on the Outlaws all season. I gave them so much time. I actually think it's not by a lot, but I think by a little bit the Redwoods are a more complete team. I think they have just less holes than this Outlaws roster has. I think they have more continuity on the season than this Outlaws roster has. And I think the biggest thing is the je ne sais quoi that I always talk about. Like the PLL, the margin is so small. The Redwoods team just seems to have a little bit more like magic, ball bouncing their way type of energy going for them this season. So that's what I'm leaning on being the difference. I think they're going to find a way to win by 3 or 4 goals. So I'm going Redwoods.
Go ahead. I'll let you finish, and then I'll say something.
No, I was just gonna say I would. There's some part of me that says if you're the Archers, you'd rather play the Redwoods just because of like the Brennan O'Neill factor. Like at the end of the day, he's probably the most scary. Not probably. He's the most scary guy on either roster from just a matchup perspective, but I don't think that's true. Like if I was sitting in the Archers, like the Redwoods to me have more of that like chaos playoff time streaky energy vibe, right? Where it's like if this team gets hot, like Malloy, we've seen Malloy do it this season, like put together 2 or 3 hot games in a row. We've seen Dylan Ward do it this season. Like if that happens, you could easily see this team in the championship. Where I go back to the Outlaws, I feel like we kind of know what we're going to get. They can grind out a win with good defense and enough offense with this team to get to 11 or 12. But if I'm the Archers looking at it defensively, I feel way more comfortable going into an Outlaws matchup saying we got to figure out how to score 12 goals, for the Archers, probably 10 goals, and you're going to win this, where the Redwoods, I feel like, can hurt you in more ways, different ways, and the Dylan Ward factor. So I'm picking the Redwoods, and I think they're the team of these two that is also more likely to figure out a way to get past the Archers too.
Yeah, and I think, all signs are pointing you need Brendan O'Neill to have a good game. You need one of those stars to have a good game. For me, the Outlaws need, Dalton Young, Graham Bundy, Justin Anderson, and Plunkett to have a good game. I think all those guys need to have at least 1 to 2 points, and that'll take pressure off those guys. If they're going to just give the ball to Kavanaugh, O'Neill, and just, go ahead and you do it, like they're going to need those guys to step up to win this game too. So it'll be a good one.
Okay, so then the nightcap, 11:30 p.m. Pacific time.
Damn, still going to be up?
I'll be up. I'll be, probably about halfway through a nice Pinot. It's a little cooler out here, so I've been kind of in the heavier Syrah, cabs generally, especially after the sun goes down. It's a little colder. So I'll have to figure out exactly what I'm going to go with, but this is the one that I'm more excited to watch. Look, I think our preview for this one will be better because I think this is a more interesting game. It's a more compelling matchup, and I think I would pick both of these teams to win that other quarterfinal. So, like, to me, the realistic teams that I think have a chance at lifting the trophy are the Archers, the Water Dogs, and these two teams, the Whipsnakes and the Cannons. Like I again, maybe I'll be singing a different tune after what the Redwoods do, but like to me, these are your teams that actually have a shot and are your better teams. And I think, so I find this game to be super compelling. Just to set the table, and then I'd love to give you the first word here on it. Like they played twice during the season. The Whipsnakes won 17-10 on May 29th. That's like week, 3 or 4, I think. And it was before, so I think when Boston fell to 1-2 after they lost that game. So yeah, it was week 3, and then obviously Boston eventually goes to 1-4 before they kind of find McMeekin and get this lineup, and they end the season on that huge run. So I don't know how much stock you put in there, and then we just saw this incredible game right in Boston where the Cannons make this crazy comeback, and Marcus hits the open net 2-pointer to win the game in overtime. The Cannons win 14-12. So with all of that, there's a lot to get into here. Very excited to watch this game. Where does your brain go first? What are you starting with in this matchup? What's the most compelling or important matchup of this game?
Oh, man, I think the biggest storyline in this game is Matt Campbell coming back. He's off the PUP list. He seems like he is healthy. We haven't seen him since, week 3. Research department looked that one up. Week 3, I think, is the last time we saw him. We know what he's capable of. He's inserted back in the lineup. And knowing him, man, he's, killer instinct. He's been working his ass off and rehabbing, and he's going to be excited to get into this playoff game. So it's like the most compelling story to me is like, who do they sit, right? If you look at their roster, I think it's one of 2 people. I think Graydon Hogg and Mick Kelly. I think one of those guys are probably going to sit. For me,
no way. I got to challenge you right there. No way.
I think they're going to sit. I think they're going to sit down
either of the. You can't sit down either of those guys.
I think they sit Mick Kelly.
Mick Kelly scored the 2 goals, the game the goal to get it to 1, and then the tying goal to send it to overtime against his team 2 weeks ago. I mean, he's been. You could make the argument that he's been their top midi in this, and then you can't take out Graydon Hogg because he's the unlock to Mackesy. I think you're off on that. I don't think there's any shot one of those 2 guys sits down. I mean,
those are my 2 guys. I think they're sitting. One of them.
Who take me through who else is in their. Because I wanted to talk about this as well.
Weissire, Ragneri. I mean, they're two-way guys. They can probably sit one of them, but if you go 2D middies, that's that'll be interesting to do that.
It's a tough decision, but I would lean toward sitting Ragneri over Mick Kelly.
No way.
To me.
No way.
That's crazy.
I would not sit Regnieri. Hell no. He's got more pop. Regnieri, I think, has more pop. He'll draw more slides. McKelly, I don't. I think they're going to sit him. I really do. Because Graydon Hogg's off ball, lefty with Mackesy on the left side. Like, look at the roster. I think that's who they'll sit. I might be wrong. We'll see. But that is the biggest storyline for me. How he looks. Yeah,
that would be a tough one to swallow. I mean, I guess you're right because your other option's probably cursed, and then you're just adding another. Yeah, it's like it would be the swing guy, and you're just rolling with trainer and your kind of D midi unit. I talked about this a couple weeks ago, Hartsey. Like this is a Brian Holman has pressed all the right buttons all season with this roster. This is a tough situation because you're obviously putting Campbell in. It's a no-brainer. All the guys that we're defending, none of them are Matt Campbell. So there's no question that Campbell comes in. But it's like one of these horses that has, been a part of winning whatever it is, 5 of their last 6 games, now just has to hit the pine. Like that's tough to do to somebody when you're on like a real win streak and the vibes are, as high as can be. So that's a really compelling nugget is like who does end up getting the axe for Campbell. And I guess maybe I'm overreacting to Mick Kelly, but again, like he made the plays to win the game against this team literally 3 weeks ago. So it's just like
it's crazy.
That's hard to imagine him not being in.
So that'll be the storyline for me watching. And then also I don't think I saw this somewhere, but there were talks of like Curse starting in that. That ain't fucking happening. I think they're rolling with JC Higginbotham in this one
for sure.
So I think the other that is the big storyline, and then I think where this game is going to be won is on the defensive end, right? If guys can limit 2-pointers and Marcus Holman, so it'll be interesting to see. It's gonna be a defensive battle, and I'm excited. I think this is the game of the weekend. It's gonna be a dogfight. So
for me, I think probably the betting lines, everything points towards the Cannons. And the only thing I would remind the betting public or fans is like the Whipsnakes had that game won. It's the Cannons have all the momentum more broadly across the league. Like the Whipsnakes obviously have blown a few games here down the stretch late, couldn't figure out a way to get a win again. Like the Whipsnakes are not coming in hot at all, but they had a 2-goal lead with a minute and a half left against this exact same team 3 weeks ago. So the gap is clearly not huge. And in the late stretch of that game, the defining difference in those teams was McMeekin won 5 straight faceoffs down the stretch to fuel the comeback, right? That's going to happen again. There's no reason to look at that matchup and think you're going to see anything different. I think the Whipsnakes youth, especially in their rope unit, shows up. So if you think about the game, the big goals, Mick Kelly off a restart runs right by somebody, no slide ready, runs right by a shorty. I don't remember specifically who it was. Then Mick Kelly off of kind of the face-off win, low time. The Whipsnakes are oversluffed. He gets a wide open step down from up top, so a rope unit goal. Then the moving pick by a Whipsnakes D midi, with Carroll out of the cage and then not reacting to the restart and getting in Marks' way. Like there's 3, really the whole down the stretch, it's the middle of the field. It's the D middies on the Whipsnakes and the face-off game that makes all those mistakes losing. So how much of that, because in that group, obviously they're all rookies. Like how much have they matured? Can they be ready to meet this moment, especially if now you have to contend with Matt Campbell? I don't think they're great at the LSM position. Right on the Whipsnakes. I mean, I know Dwan is a rookie again. I think he's a talented player, but like having a veteran presence, been there, done that LSM to kind of command up top, and they don't have that. So that the Cannons middies, assuming it's Campbell, and then this whole crew of, and we were talking about it, Mick Kelly and Regnieri and Weishauer and like whoever it is that's out there, they've been really good at winning matchups. Like, can the Whipsnakes defensive midfield play well enough on ball and intelligently enough off ball, right? And to your point, play picks in transition well and not give Marcus a step down too, which changes the game when he hits those. Like, it's like almost like picking your poison and what you're giving up, because I trust Ajax and Dunn and Muller to like to compete and make adjustments just like they did last game. So I think that the Whipsnakes D middies against the Boston's offensive midfield is really important. The Boston's O midfield, to me, is going to win that matchup, but can the Whipsnakes kind of defensive midfield do enough? And then the other one that I think is really, really key is the Whipsnakes midfield winning their matchups. If you remember the last game, Boston basically said, okay, which is, I think, the same strategy you and I would deploy against Whipsnakes. We're not going to let this attack beat us as feeders. So you're playing a lot of matchup defense, beat us one-on-one. And Aiden Carroll and Patra delivered. And they, essentially they should have won that game. And they had 5 unassisted goals out of Patra and I think 3 and 1 out of Carroll. I think they have to get that again. If Boston's defense plays smart and you say, you put your guys in the matchups and you say, we're not just going to start rotating for no reason. We're not going to let Joey Spallina and Rob and Malone beat us as feeders. And you just trust your matchups. That's the Whipsnakes' only chance. I mean, those are the Malone, what needs to win the Donovan matchup. And to me, is probably their best chance down there as a Dodger. And then you need Patra and Carroll to bring their A game again and deliver on a bunch of unassisted goals. So that's the other storyline to watch. From my perspective, do the Cannons change that strategy defensively? And if they don't, can Patra and Carroll do the same thing they did last time and just shoot at a really high percentage on unassisted shots?
Yeah, he's been great all year, man. And I think another thing that they can't let happen again, I think Jack Posey had 4 minutes in penalties, some really dumb penalties on his behalf. But yeah, I think, we know the leader that Matt Dunn is. I think these guys are going to be really dialed in for this game. And again, this is going to be a defensive battle. Whatever defense plays team defense the best is going to win this one. And I think
I saw something in Quint's article that I'm curious your opinion on. He talked about Malone, if it were him, he would be dodging Donovan from X. I mean, Donovan's been been good. I've talked about him. I think he's been really good. But I also understand that perspective. I've been targeted in this way when you're an LSM and you're playing close D and you're covering an X attackman. I would like to see the Whipsnakes early try to establish some one-on-one dodging with that matchup again, and maybe you can get the Cannons out of their no slide defense if you show you can win a matchup from the attack, dodge to score a little bit. I think Joey, same thing. Rob, same thing. They're all capable of dodging to score. If they just go out there and start this dodge, bounce, and look thing, I just think you're going to see Brian and the Cannons defense say, nope, look away off ball. Let these guys bounce all day long. One of them's got to establish, I can win my matchup one-on-one to break the game plan for the Boston defense and I think open up everything else in their offense.
I mean, Malone's brother in the Chaos game, he dodged him for the wing one time, beat him, took him to the rack for a goal, and then at X, he refused to pick, Donovan kind of looked away and then he rolled, went topside and scored no slide. So I think that's a good point.
That's the sort of moment, right? When you've been playing LSM for 4 years and now you have to deal with a 2-man game at X, it's different. The angles are different. It takes some getting used to deal with that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think, TJ Malone is more than capable of winning matchups. I think that's if I'm, Stagnita and Drew Snyder are thinking about that, I'm thinking that's something that they should key in on for sure if they've been watching film. But yeah, he's been great all year, but there have been some instances where he has been getting beat at X, and his brother plays on the Chaos. He took him to the rack twice, so that'll be interesting to see. But yeah, man, this is going to be I think this obviously is going to be the game of the weekend. Just how the last one went and how upsetting it was for the Whipsnakes. They're going to come out pissed off, and the Cannons are playing with that, je ne sais quoi.
The Cannons definitely have the it factor. Do the Whipsnakes have the emotional stamina to deal with? They've lost 3 straight, 2 of them in heartbreaking fashion. Do you still have belief in that locker room right now? Because I don't actually think the gap between them and the Cannons or the Water Dogs or the Archers is that big. But I do think there's a gap. You have to say there's a gap. Those other 3 teams have winning records. One doesn't. But it's not huge. So it's is the belief strong enough in that locker room, or is the leadership strong enough to get them to go out there and play with it? And if it is, then look, you get it till late in the game and it's a 1-goal game and anything can happen. We didn't touch on this with the Redwoods Outlaws, but you can go back and forth on how important the faceoff is given the 32-second shot clock. Where it is important is in a in the final 2 minutes of a tight game, right? Like that's where, those extra possessions, even if they're 32, when you're tied or you're down 1 or 2 and there's 2 minutes left or whatever, becomes so important. And obviously the Redwoods and the Cannons have the edge there. Now with Weirman, you feel like he can steal one in those moments. He kind of has a little bit of that dog. He's got Terefenko and Pacino on the wings. Like so the difference isn't as drastic in that matchup, but I do think that's an advantage. Redwoods here, it's hard to like the Whips unless they go into the last 5 minutes of the game with like a 3 or 4 goal lead, because
basically see if a coach just throws a curveball, you're just like, you know what? We were 30% in the faceoff X. Let's just concede. Give them every single one of them. See how they do in 32.
Right. But like, and I do think if you're the Whipsnakes, you got to consider that. Like, yeah, but look at they did that, and the Cannons scored in the 32 all those times. And that's where, if I'm the Whipsnakes at practice, I'm working on how do we play great 32-second defense. Like I think you'd be thinking like this too. I'd be saying D-Mitty at the faceoff X to just stand up and get ready to defend McMeekin, because that's the problem. It's like he'll rack a shorty. Like if you just shut everybody off and you have a shorty on him, like that's not he's a great athlete. So you've got to just I would almost put it as like stand up a shorty, make sure he doesn't win forward, let him get the ball out of his stick, and then he goes to sub. And then in that moment, once the ball's out of his stick, I'd be throwing junk at him, like shutting people off, doing things that don't let him get any sort of rhythm. You know what I mean? Like I just think you can do things that can make it really, and we've seen teams do this successfully. The Chaos did this really successfully this year. Like, yeah, I do think the Whipsnakes need to have a plan. And they're a smart enough defense to execute, like especially at their close D, different types of plans. But like you've got to have a plan for losing every face-off, and you've got to make the 32-second shot clock work to your advantage at some point in this game, or else or else you're just not going to win, because the Cannons are going to get the ball, especially in the fourth quarter if it's close.
Yeah, I think double pulling the face-off is if I'm the Whips, I'm definitely double pulling the face-off. If Cannons are going to put a guy back in the D end and run him up the field as soon as that exchange happens, shut him off and like just let them run around, kill clock. I would not let Marcus Holman catch the ball outside the arc. I would not let Maxey catch the ball. So yeah, I think that's a good point. I'm definitely 100% double pulling the wings and like short stick shut Marcus or somebody.
That's what I was thinking. That's probably what it is. It's probably short stick shut Marcus and. Yeah, double pull, make sure McMeekin doesn't hurt you as a dodger or whatever. And then again, once the subbing pattern ends, settle in. And now you're giving an offense basically like 18 seconds to work. And that's, advantage defense more times than not in that. In like
the rule,
that
I hate the rule, because you've essentially just taken out all the athletic long poles that could just sit up and beat the shit out of them, but can't do that.
Yeah, the no pull at the face-off X. Yeah, that would help.
Isn't it so ironic that the Cannons were the ones that did that, like had the pole up, shut off, and now they got a face-off guy, so they don't want to see that.
Yep, no doubt. That's how it's all cyclical. That's how it goes. Well, anything else in this game? I mean, I think we've covered kind of most of it. Who do you have winning it?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Another storyline, Marcus Holman is on record watch. John Grant Jr., 7. He needs 7. That's going to be a tall task, but
6 to tie, 7 goals to break it all time.
Can Marcus score 7? Yeah, he can for sure if you let him.
If Marcus scores 7 goals, the Cannons are winning the game. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, that's a fact. So that's pretty cool. Marcus is gonna, if they win, he's definitely gonna break it next week, but or next year he's gonna play again. He's been playing at such a goddamn high level, but that's a cool storyline. I mean, John Grant Jr., we all know who that is and what he did on the field. So I think record watch, that's a pretty cool thing to see. But yeah, man, in this one, I'm giving the edge to the Cannons. I think McMeekin is the X factor, and the Cannons have just been playing so damn well. And the biggest thing for me too is like the close game stuff, winning the close game stuff. Like they've been so good all year at it, and I think this game is going to get down to like a 1 goal, maybe like a 2 goal game. Somebody is going to need to make a play and not make a mistake, and they've been great all year in that facet. And I think they have the slight edge there, but I do think JC Higginbotham and Carroll. We said this for the last game too. Goalie play is going to be important, and the defense. It's going to be interesting to see how they come out and match up. Are they going to double pole? Are they going to throw some junk at them? But yeah, man, I think I'm putting all my money on the Cannons in this one.
Well, we're aligned, buddy. I like the Cannons as well. I think that's the difference. I think the Cannons, WTCG, win the close game. That's where the edge goes to the Cannons for me. I mean, we've seen the Whipsnakes botch those all year, and I don't think they have the talent in the middle of the field, not just face-off X, throughout the middle of the field. I think Ethan Rawl is a better LSM. I think the Cannons are better at the defensive midfield position. So I just think there's more, like a lot of those game-breaking moments. I just think it's a advantage Cannons. I do think it'll be a tight game, but I think the Cannons will win by a few goals. So we both are aligned.
A few goals? What do you think? What are you saying? Like 2, 3?
Two, 3. 3 is a few. Yeah, because I think it'll be.
I think this game has all the. I think all signs point to 1-goal game overtime in this one.
I mean, dude, I hope for that. Because the last one was so freaking fun. I mean, that was the most fun game of the season for me by far to watch. That game was awesome. I could just see the Cannons pulling away late again with McMeekin. I definitely think at some point in the fourth quarter the game will be tied. I just trust the Cannons playmakers a little bit more on offense, and then I think in the fourth quarter in a tie game and you're getting the ball twice as much, it's just such a big advantage there. So you are messing. That's why.
The Cannons, I mean, we said that in the beginning. We talked about it in the beginning, but the biggest thing is going to see how Matt Campbell's playing, because if he's not hitting the cage and you sit, Mick Kelly or whoever's been scoring for you, that's going to be a problem.
No doubt. So we're both aligned on the Redwoods Cannons. So the likelihood of those two teams winning is
not good.
Probably very, very low. So it'll be interesting to see which one we get wrong.
Yeah, and then the Philadelphia Water Dogs and your Archers are going to be just sitting at TCO Stadium, getting a nice light little practice in, maybe shoes off their feet, probably eating 3 meals a day, hanging out.
Are they traveling?
I think they do fly them out. Yeah, they do fly them out for sure.
Nice. Yeah.
To practice.
Good for them.
Research department, look that up. I'm pretty sure they fly them out to TCO for practices.
They get some
live scouting.
They get some good food too. Well,
Scott, what are you doing? Okay, you're the coach of the Archers. You got to buy. All right, you're flying in TCO Stadium. Whole team's there. You practice on. But they give you 2 practices. You're practicing on Friday night. You practice on Saturday. What does a weekend look like for you? Are you going live to the game? Or are you taking the boys out for some vino? What's Coach Ratliff doing with his team on the bye week heading into the semifinal?
No, it's not a vino week. It's as much as I would love to do that, you're locked in mode here. Right. So I think it's intentional practice. It's go watch the game. I could see team activity, but I'm also still stuck in the MLL days. We've all heard my famous Dave Huntley Top Golf story here, but I just don't trust the team to go handle a team activity with any sort of alcohol involved, because that's just going to turn into late night shenanigans. Better to do that end of season, big win, few weeks out from the playoffs. Maybe you locked in your playoff seeding, something like that. I think it's all business. I think you're maximizing time on the field, light practice, but maximizing time on the field. More of the pure bonding kind of thing, like those moments where you just got a bucket of balls and you're all just tossing around and hanging out and taking shots at the cage. Like you're trying to maximize that sort of stuff to me in this weekend. So yeah, I think it's good team dinner. It's practice, it's watch the games, together as a team, and then it's a good team dinner, film, and get everybody home here. But no. Look, a nice dinner. When I first came into the league, there was a real clear split. Like when my first 2 years in the league, when we would finish a game, there'd be the under 30 crew, right? We talked about this. Let's head into Johnny's Hideaway. And then there was the Ryan Boyle, Steven Berger, Kyle Sweeney, where they would a lot of times it would be some beers in the hotel all together, and then those guys would go out to a nice dinner generally, right? And so that sort of thing, sure, if you're gonna have a glass of wine at a nice dinner and you're getting well fed, maybe some local organic, in there in Minneapolis, I don't know what the local cuisine is, some fish out of the lake or something, sure, but you got to be careful. I'm no Top Golf. Let's just put it that way. If you're the Water Dogs, no Top Golf or the Archers. Stay locked in. But I also think these kids are different these days than we used to be. We've talked about that. I think they're a little more trustworthy with this sort of stuff. So, yeah, it's interesting, dude. It's crazy that they go so long without playing games. Obviously, you have to travel. You want to get time together and all that, but it's also just like it's another weekend of travel away from their families, their jobs, things like that. You know, I think that would be a hard weekend to navigate as a coach. Like, how much do you play? What does a practice look like? How hard do you go? Are you practicing twice? Are you practicing 3 times over the course of the weekend? Is it one practice and watch the game? Like sitting up in the stands with the whole team watching the semifinals also feels weird to me. Like I would almost rather not be there. I'd rather like watch it on TV. I don't know why, but that's just like a weird vibe. Like that's like a little league football vibe to me. Like having the entire team sitting up in the stands, like scouting, like or like a high school lacrosse vibe. I can't think of a pro sport where you've ever seen that. The entire team sitting there watching their next opponent like live, you know? Can you?
That's what I'm saying. I think if I'm coaching the Archers, I'm taking the boys to, I'm finding a nice restaurant down there. We're going to watch it, have like a section off room. We're going to watch it live on TV with the sound on.
Yeah.
Two beer max.
You're right. Sure. You're right. Yeah. Two beer. We're all adults here. Yeah. You're not going to put that, like that's the problem. The problem isn't the 2 beers. It's what happens to the decision making of the young guys after the 2 bears, and you're back in the hotel, and it's like, well, it is Saturday, and like, man.
I feel like that doesn't. I feel like they haven't been going out as much, man. I don't.
But also, is there really any harm in that? You know, no. A week out from a game, maybe you do just treat it like a game weekend. Go let it rip.
Let it loose, let it rip. Baby.
I don't know. So, it's who knows. We'll never know. We'll see if we can get some rumors and figure out what's going on there. So last thing I want to pose to you here, coaching matchups. You got the old heads, Jim Stagnita, Brian Holman, you know, on one side. You got MLL legend Pseudo against kind of the young up and comer and Anthony Kelly. You know, take the full staffs into account. Tell me who wins the coaching matchups in these games.
I think Outlaws, Redwoods. I'm going with A-Train on that one. Going with him and Baco, 2 former players. Obviously, Sudan played 2 as well. I don't know too much about his, Jeremy Boltis. I know Jeremy. I forget the other guy's name. The coordinator. I don't know his name. I'm going with A-Train and Chris Bachlet in this one, and then I think
bias answer, but
how do you go against? We just touched on this, winning the close games. How do you go against Brian? How he's performed this year? So I'm going all in on that.
I think I'm gonna contradict myself because I think Stags obviously has a lot of experience in winning playoff games. Yeah. He's proven like his ability to make adjustments and win these types of games with the Whipsnakes is through the roof. But this year, Brian's the coach of the year for me, and he's pressed all the right buttons. And I think you got to give him the edge. I also think Will Manny, is just brings so much offensively, and I think what Brian has done with that defense and like finding the right personnel and coming up with the right game plans has been, he's been really good there. So I give the edge there. In the other game, though. Just the experience, like Anthony Kelly, obviously, but one of our best friends, and like I love him and I believe in him, but I just Pseudo. I think I need to see A-Train prove it a little bit first, right, in the playoffs. Which I'm contradicting myself because you could say the same thing about Brian in the PLL, but I think it's more just like my affinity for Pseudo getting his flowers. Like he's that coach, right? He hasn't won a championship, but he's just won so much in this league and in the MLL, and he's been so close so many times. I do think he knows how to navigate these moments. I just don't think he has as good of a team this year as the Redwoods. So, all right, man. Well, it's going to be fun. Excited to watch it. We'll be back next week with obviously a breakdown, a recap of what happened, and a similar preview for the semifinal game. So it's that time of the year, man. Lock in. Yeah. Another interesting thing, we can just leave with this, but just way too fucking early. But 2027 draft. Dude, your boy Ben Johnston wasn't even in the top 10 for PLL. I don't know if that's a miss or... Is he not one of the people that they're saying could come back? No, I'm looking at the draft board. They got Max Sloat above him. Max Sloat had 44 points. Ben Johnson had 51. But, they're both big mutants, and they're going to do great. But it was interesting not seeing him in there. Yeah, I'm not even going to discuss that. Yeah, that's your boy, BN. I don't know. I don't know. The NCAA rules too. This is going to be so confusing with the draft. Like I can't right now. I'm locked. I'm focused on 2026. I'm focused on 2026 right now. I'm not going there.
All right.
So
leave with that.
give me some entertaining quarterfinal lacrosse. Give me 2 close games. Let's get to the semis.
Hell yeah. Let's do it. Cool. Gonna be a
All
great
right,
weekend.
brother. Yep. See you next week. Peace.
Peace.